Happy New Year. It's Dee. I am back with the first video of 2024. I hope everybody had a very awesome holiday season, and I hope your new year is off to an amazing start. So the video today is going to be at a time I got stranded for 14 hours on Interstate 95. And the reason I want to tell you about this now is because this video is going to be posted January 2nd, 2024. And this incident happened on January 3rd and 4th, 2022. So it's the 2-year anniversary. Also, when this happened, I was coming back from a Georgia trip. Guess what? When I go to Georgia this time, on my way back home, it is scheduled, or the weather man is saying that it's going to snow around 7 inches. So this is a little bit of a deja vu, but this time I will be super prepared. So let me get into it. So January 3rd, 2024, I left, it's getting a little toasty in here actually. I left Georgia at about 11 o'clock in the morning. Now I'm cold. Oh, well, I'll figure it out. So I left Georgia around 11 o'clock in the morning on January 3rd, 2022. So everything was going fine. It was a normal travel day. I stopped at a gas station somewhere around, I think it was Wilson or Smithfield, North Carolina. And I was just getting some coffee, getting a sandwich. And then I was going to continue on. Sorry, adjusting here. And then I was going to continue on for the rest of my day, or the rest of my travels back home up to the Maryland area. So when I get back in my car after I got gas, I realized my GPS went from like 5 hours left to 23 hours left. So I was like, that's strange. So I reprogrammed my GPS. And I think at that time it was Apple Maps. That's what I was using on my phone. And I'm like, 23 hours, this can't be right. This must be some kind of glitch with Apple Maps. So I switch it over to Google Maps. Google Maps is saying approximately the same thing, like 23-ish hours to get home. Now, mind you, at that point in time, I should have only had 5 hours left on my travels. So I call home to figure out, hey, how are the roads up there? Because I knew that it had snowed, but it wasn't like a crazy, tremendous blizzard or anything like that that would cause, that type of snow to add that many hours to my travels. So I call home and I'm like, hey, how are the roads at home? They're like, everything's fine here. Roads are good. We were just out. Like, everything's fine. And I'm like, okay. So I basically chalked it up to something's going on with the GPSs. I don't know what it is. Or I thought maybe there's a crash somewhere further north, but I'm like, by the time I get there, everything should be cleared out. I got 5 hours till I'm home. Everything should be fine. So as I approach Thornburg, Virginia, it starts getting a little dicey. And I'm like, okay, so worst case scenario, I'll get off northbound Interstate 95 and I'll take Route 1 until, to bypass all of this traffic situation. Now, mind you, from South Carolina all the way up to Virginia, I'm traveling I-95. Never at any point on I-95 did I see, like the warning signs that pop up, and they're electronic warning signs so they can keep you updated, like real time of what's going on and maybe, what to be worried about. Nothing. There was no mention of anything. No mention of any issues, right? Not even an accident. No issues. Anyway, so I keep going, right? I didn't get off. I'm like, I'll just keep going. The traffic was still moving. It was just getting a little dicey because the traffic was starting to pick up. And I noticed the roads were really deteriorating. So I keep going, and I realized a little bit before Stafford, Virginia, that 95 was basically a no-go. So I get off on Route 1 to go north, follow Route 1 north. That was even worse. Oh my gosh. I'm not being dramatic here. Power lines were down. Trees were down. Snow on the road. Ice on the road. Power lines in the road. Trees in the road. No businesses were open. There were trailers, like tractor trailers, semi-trucks, stuck. people were stuck, like trying to shovel themselves out. So I'm like, okay, this will pass. This is just a rough patch. So I kept going, northbound on Route 1. I got to a point where I was like, there's no way I can go further on Route 1. I was slipping and sliding a little bit, but not to the point where, I thought it was too much. So anyway, Google Maps takes me off of Route 1 onto a side street. And I'm like, there was like deep ditches on each side of the dirt road. And I'm like, what have I gotten myself into? Google Maps, what have you gotten me into? So I'm traveling down this road and I'm like, this detour, whatever Google Maps is trying to do, is not going to work. It's Northern Virginia. They don't get a lot of snow. They do get some, but they don't get a lot. Those side roads were not plowed. I mean, I seriously don't know how. I did not either slide into a ditch, get stuck, blow a tire, something. Anyway, so long story short on that part, I backtrack. I make my way back to Route 1 and then, let me fix this. I make my way back to Route 1. And on my way back to Route 1, I was like, I have got to pee so bad. Now, of course, I have my coffee container system that I use to pee, but I'm like, I don't know how long I'm going to be driving around trying to get back home because the roads were just horrible. So I was like, I don't want to use my coffee container because I don't want to fill that up and then not be able to go to pee, So I was like, okay. So I pulled up at 7-Eleven gas pumps. They had no gas. The 7-Eleven was closed, okay, because of the storm. So I had to pee so bad that I just like opened my front driver's door and then I opened my back passenger door behind the driver's seat to kind of like create a barrier. And I sat down on the edge of the car with the door open and just did my business. And I thought that would be enough to like block me so nobody would see. But of course, like mid-pee, somebody comes on the opposite gas pump and he comes out of his truck and I'm just like, oh God. And he just turned around. You could tell he was so mortified. He was probably a lot more embarrassed than I was. So at that point, I just get back, start on my route back to 95. I'm back on 95. And there I sat right around the Stafford area, same area, or, approximately the same area where I had gotten off of 95 onto Route 1, get on there, and it's just, I'm sitting, right? So at this point, it's like around 11:30 at night. You can look at 95 and you could see there's like, I don't know, what is that? 2 inches, inch and a half, 2 inches of just straight up ice on the road. And I'll put the pictures up here on the video because I did not take video because I was trying to conserve my cell phone battery. Because at that time, I had just started car camping. I think I had been car camping for like 3 or 4 months at that point. So I had a very basic setup. I didn't have my Blue Yeti EB3A. With that trip, I left my snack bag with my daughter because she was in college. So I was like, she'll want these snacks at some point in the dorm, So literally I had 1 can of RC Cola. I had my bed set up and I had this, I don't know if y'all can, I'm going to have to unplug my lights here. But I had this portable rechargeable battery station. And that's all I had. So I did not want to deplete, the only power sources that I had. So I was like, I'm not going to take any video. I'm just going to get some pictures because nobody's going to believe this, right? Little did I know I would be sitting there for the next 14 hours and it would be like a national news story how, hundreds, probably thousands of people were stuck on I-95 northbound and southbound. Some were stuck up to 24 hours, 26 hours. I was northbound. I think the people going southbound had it worse. But what it boiled down to was Virginia did not pre-treat their roads because they said it was raining before the snow started and that if they pre-treated the roads with salts or whatever, that it would just, wash away. You could have done something. Anyway, so at that point, I didn't have anything to cook with. I had no food with me because I had given the rest to my daughter. And at that time, I only packed what I needed. So I think around 1:30, I realized, okay, We're not moving. I might as well try to get some sleep. At that point, I also realized I cannot keep my car running. I need to conserve my battery and my gas. So what I would do was I would turn off the car for 40 minutes. And then every 40 minutes, I would turn it on for about 10, 15 minutes so I could get some heat, warm up the car, because I think it dropped down to like 19 degrees that night. And I was in Savannah, so I wasn't planning on like needing a bunch of like a sleeping bag and a bunch of covers, because, you know, in Savannah, even in January, it doesn't get that cold. So at one point I was like, all right, I'll just crawl in the back, try to go to sleep for a little bit. I could not fall asleep because I'm like, what if the traffic starts moving? What if they start clearing the roads? You know, what if start to pop in your head? Like, what if a semi truck comes barreling down the highway, doesn't stop, and here I am laying in the car, no seatbelt, and boom, I go flying. Anyway, so I covered myself up in my comforter that I did have, or the blanket that I did have, hopped in the driver's seat, and I just kind of leaned it back and tried to get some sleep. I would fall asleep from time to time. I would wake up, look around, still haven't moved, you know, take a picture. Like, it was just crazy. But there was one point, there were about 5 guys in a Ford pickup truck from Texas. Not the one that y'all saw in the picture in front of me with the cowboy sticker. That was not a Ford. But they come along the shoulder of the road, and I guess they're thinking, hey, we got this big pickup truck, we can just barrel through the shoulder. Well, there was snow on the shoulder. Underneath the snow, there was ice. So they got stuck. So they keep trying to like maneuver out. And I gotta say, at least an hour and a half goes by. And these guys are still trying to get out. 2 of the guys got on the bed of the pickup truck, sat on the side, and used the boundary on the highway, like, you know, those steel boundaries that they have on the outside of the shoulders, I guess, to prevent, you know, people from going off the road and into ravines and stuff like that. So the driver was like revving the engine and like trying to get the car to go with the gas pedal, rocking back and forth. These 2 guys are sitting on the edge of the bed of the pickup truck. They have their legs up against the steel barrier and they're trying to like push. And I'm like, I'm about to witness something awful here, because I was like, somebody's going to lose their legs. Somebody's going to fall off and get hit. Oh my gosh. I was just like, it was a train wreck. It was like, that's your entertainment, but you don't want to watch it because you know, like, something is awful is bound to happen. So anyway, thankfully, nothing bad happened to them. They were able to get themselves unstuck. So I see them down further, a little distance. And I want to say they got 10, 20 feet and they got stuck again. You can't make this stuff up. So finally, around 4 o'clock in the morning, I see a Stafford County government plow trying to get through. Mind you, this is the first plow, first any type of government vehicle I see trying to clear any type of the roads. And I have been stuck there basically in the same spot since 11:30 the night before, 4 o'clock in the morning. So they're trying to go through, and the guys in the pickup truck from Texas are like, hey. And he just looked at him. He's like, nope, I'm plowing the roads. I'm not getting anybody unstuck. Because what we didn't know at that point was there were probably, I don't know, excuse me, there ended up being a lot of stuck vehicles. There were Greyhound buses that tried to get off the exit ramps and were getting stuck. They were sliding like sideways. Semi trucks. It was just a huge, ridiculous mess. You know, I opened my my car door just to take a look at the roads, and it was just ice. And so I would use my coffee container to go potty, and I would actually dump it out onto the road. I know it's gross, but what other choice did I have? You're literally stuck in the middle of a highway. It was too treacherous to try to walk to another exit. And even if I did, I was afraid those places were going to be closed too, because right before I got on the interstate, all those businesses were closed down. The roads were just too treacherous. Now, at some point, I must have fallen asleep, because when I woke back up and I'm looking around, I don't see the Texas truck anymore. So I don't see them anymore, still sitting in the same spot. The sun was starting to come up. And so as the sun was starting to come up, you could really see how far ahead it was just piles and piles of traffic. Cars, semi-trucks, everything. You could just see, as far as you could see, it was just lines of cars on both sides of the highway. So we all sat there for about another 3-4 hours after the sun came up. At one point, we started to slightly move. I remember there was a little sports car that was in the left lane next to me, and they got stuck. It was like a father-son duo. They got stuck, so I had my regular car mats, because I have like those rubber all-weather mats in my car normally, but I had my cloth mats. I saved them. They were underneath my storage, I think, at that point. So I took them out and we put all 4 under their tires, and that was enough to give them enough traction to like get unstuck. And then I just picked up my mats, put them back. So we're like slowly tinkering along. Then we come to another stop, and this poor lady, she comes out of her van, and you could just tell she has that look like, I have to go to the bathroom. And so she's looking all around. I guess she didn't find a spot that she was comfortable enough using. She goes back into her van. Excuse me. She goes back into her van. About 10 minutes later, she comes back out, and she's looking frantic. So she goes around to the driver's side. You see her husband or whoever get out of the car. He stands behind her, I guess to try to block her, because they had a van. It's not like you can open your door and block, because the doors just slide. This man did a horrible job of trying to block her. So he's standing there with his legs wide open, looking around, laughing. Meanwhile, she's squatting down to use the bathroom, and her whole behind is just out there for everybody to see. And she probably had no clue, because the man is standing there with his legs wide apart, just laughing. Anyway, so it seemed like she was peeing for like 3 or 4 minutes. That woman had to go, and I feel so bad for her. So if y'all happen to see this, I'm so sorry for what happened to you and to her husband or whoever was trying to block her. Please, next time, hopefully there isn't a next time, but if there is, keep your legs closed so her behind isn't out there for the whole world to see. Sir. So we start moving again. And about a mile down the road, guess who I see stuck on the shoulder? Yes, y'all know who? That's right. The 5 guys in the Ford pickup truck from Texas was about a mile down the road, stuck again. Now, I don't know if they ran out of gas or they're stuck. I don't know, but they were stuck again. And on the way, like once the roads opened up and we were able to drive, there were so many people who either their batteries had died, they ran out of gas. Some people had like the Teslas. Once that battery dies, the battery is gone. There's nothing you can do. So that was that. So then you had to weave around those cars that were stuck and just needed help to get out of there. Now, luckily I was by myself. I can't imagine, like having anybody with me, especially my son. At that time, he was 5. Excuse me. I can't imagine, because I had 1 can of RC Cola. At that time, I didn't bring extra food. I've learned my lesson. That's why I have my kitchen cabinet stocked just in case. So it's going to snow in Virginia and Maryland. It's the weatherman says it's going to. When I'm coming back from Georgia again this time around in January, which is in a few days. So if I do get stuck again on 95 and if Virginia doesn't do their job again in Northern Virginia, I am prepared. And I'm going to try my darndest to cook myself my meals and act like everything is okay. And I will be prepared this time. Not going to happen to me again, Virginia. Not going to do it to me again. So again, I left Georgia around 11 o'clock in the morning, January 3rd, 2022. I kid you not, I got home January 4th, 2022 at around 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So in total, I spent more than 24 hours on I-95. 14 of those hours was pretty much in the same exact spot. So that is my story time. I wanted to share that experience with you all. Throw me your positive, good vibes that fate does not happen again when I'm traveling this January to Georgia. Because like I said, it's supposed to snow again in the same area. So keep me in your thoughts. Send me positive vibes and positive juju that doesn't happen again. But I tell you what, this time, if it does happen again, I'll go live. If I have a signal, I have my Blue Eddy now. I have power source. I can eat. I can use the bathroom. No problem. If it does happen this time, I might just go live and y'all can hang out with me and witness it with me. Okay, so that's it. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy this content, come on over, subscribe to Dee's Roads. Remember, I will be posting every Tuesday and Friday. Have a great day. Thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next one on Friday.